So here's the thing. Here's the thing. The numbers are sobering. When you realize that almost 98% of black businesses don't employ more than one person.
Yeah, solopreneurs.
That's not really a business. You just
not a business.
Back
work
to
individualistic.
individualistic.
Not a business,
Back
it's a
to
hobby.
individualistic.
You're working for yourself.
But that might not be your
But
choice.
it's not even that.
No, I'm not saying it, but the numbers speak to me and I.
But it goes,
even if you didn't get big enough to hire anybody yet,
Yeah.
which is probably mostly the case, but I'm saying even that fact, even that stat says you didn't go into business with somebody else.
Yeah, that's partnership. But that goes back to the standard conversation, right? Because if I'm doing it as an individual, then I'm gonna look out for my best interest. Your best interest is gonna be something different. So when we have to create something like a lobby, what are we lobbying for?
Then there's that.
What's it gonna be? Like, what's the issue? What's the topic? What is gonna be the thing that we say, all right, this is what we're rallying around?
Like there has to be some level of governance and understanding and cooperation. That's the only thing that's ever gonna work in this world.
That's where you're gonna have an issue.
Well,
Trying to get people to get on board that platform is where I think you'll have an issue.
well, what you do is, so here's the thing. You don't start cooperation at the higher up level is a lot easier than trying to get 1 million people to cooperate. Because ultimately, people are driven by leadership, right? So like we just came from UAE. And if you know anything about the UAE, like they just hit oil like 50 years ago, right? And there's 7 emirates. So when they hit oil, the leader of Abu Dhabi, which is the most powerful emirate, called a meeting with the other 7 sheikhs, because they're all leaders, like Abu Dhabi, Dubai, they were all independent of each other, and said, look, it's more beneficial if we come under one flag and we work together. And they did that, and now they're one of the wealthiest countries in the world. But they didn't vote on it from 1 million people on the ground. And you know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, this is what was going to happen. This is going to happen. And then from there, it all trickles down. So we don't need every single person in the world to get on board. But if there's 10 black billionaires and they all come together and form an alliance, now that's real power.
Why hasn't that happened?
Because this was like 1,000 other billionaires just like, nah, we ain't feeling that shit.
Let that happen.
Kind of right now.
I'm thinking about the mentality of the people who would not want to see that happen, because
I mean, just based on the numbers perspective, right? 10 years ago, did we have 10 black billionaires?
Exactly.
Yeah, true.
It's new.
You know what I'm saying? We just getting to this point.
We just getting here.
Right now. Like, we just lost one.
Why they gotta be billionaires?
You know what I'm saying?
Like
that quick, we just lost one.
Why they gotta be billionaires? That's why they gotta be billionaires.
Because the people who would not like to see that happen have those kind of resources.
I say that if we just got 10 men together that agreed on the same thing, they're billionaires.
Not big or not in this case.
The money is
You
important.
didn't catch what I just said.
Yeah.
And if you didn't catch what I just said, listen again. Because then you have to show me 10 men that are together, that are on the same page, and show me that they have not been successful. And you won't be able to do that. Now, as I said, 10 men, if you put 10 men together that have on the same page, the same ideology, that's billions.
That's a successful team. I get you.
The Italians
I get you.
That's billions.
It's finding the people who are going to be on it. This room is filled with people who follow that philosophy. These two dudes, they didn't do it by
When it comes
themselves.
down to it, we wouldn't agree.
But they managed to agree. 4 dudes over here, FUBU, managed to agree. You do what I'm saying? The team in this room, we managed to agree a couple times a week. We get together and do this. Like, I'm completely on your side. I think when you start hitting, I think the higher up the money goes, the more you have to lose to an extent, especially if you have there's a phrase for it, but I can't think of it. Especially, you know, that if a family of squirrels found one nut, they'd bury it in the backyard and cover over it. Like, when you have that mentality, you're not willing to risk anything, because what comes with risk? Not being comfortable. And most people I know do not want to risk being uncomfortable long enough to get to the other thing. That's where the lack of patience comes in that we talked about earlier. You need patience because it's going to get uncomfortable. The market's going to crash. You're going to lose a whole bunch of shit. You're going to start pulling your money out because you don't want to be uncomfortable, God forbid you can't pay that bill on time, and God forbid you can't go do that $500 date.
You said $500 a day?
Oh, this is the guy.
I took it down to 350. I took it down to 350.
He knows what he's talking about.
I thought it was 300.
Nah,
Mav, you can't take nobody on a $500 date, bro.
What you talking about?
You too big now, homie. They expecting at least a minimum of 5,000.
$1,000 dater. It's still dinner. That's what it takes somebody dinner. That's the new show. You know what I mean? $1,000 dater.
Man, look at that in the face and say, yo, my man from Earn Your Leisure said it's 500. How much I'm
Yo,
spending?
I'm just saying, bro. It works. On a base level, as far as this topic, though, can't go to war unless you get your money right.
That's a fact.
We have to acknowledge that there is a war going on. We have to acknowledge that there is oppression. We have to acknowledge that there are people who would like to keep us as maids and people mopping the floor, people driving the bus that want to keep us there. You feel what I'm saying? Once you acknowledge that, then kind of moving publicly as a unit, we see that don't work.
And just understanding. Well, this goes back to the culture thing, right? So we was in London and we stayed in Chinatown. We stayed in W in Chinatown. So the cab driver, he's driving us and he's telling us like, yo, I'm surprised you guys are staying there because every time I take somebody, they're Chinese. I'm like, what you mean? He's like, well, a Chinese guy owns that W. And it's in the heart of Chinatown. He was like, all the Chinese, every single time they come to London, they only stay in that hotel. But that's because they're supporting their own.
Yeah.
But they don't even look at it as supporting their own. It's a cultural thing where they stick together.
Right.
And that's something that, to your point, and to your point as well, it shouldn't even be even a thought for us working together. It shouldn't be a thought of, I gotta buy FUBU because it's black owned. That's just the common, just what you do.
Right, exactly. Right.
We got a whole generation. No, excuse me. We got a whole group of people, large group, that believes white ice is colder. Like too many people. We'll skip over.
We've seen people almost get there, and the thing I don't like, it's like we all know the handicaps. We all know the handicaps. It's rehearsed too much. What are the solutions? What are the solutions? If you were in power tomorrow, what do we do next?
I think we're leading by example right now.
Absolutely.
I think what we're doing right now, like you said, like it gets overlooked because they just see us. But like, nah, this is two black men who created a media company not to really highlight ourselves, but to highlight others who have brilliance, right? So like you can see something that's aspirational, you can see something that's attainable that you never would have thought of. So you don't have to make the decision and be like, yo, I want to be the dude on the corner. Yo, that truck that just passed, yo, that's an 18-wheeler. That's a business I can have. You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's happening. That's why we call it the financial revolution. Because you spoke about the civil rights movement. Like, we weren't born for that. Right. But the problem with it was like, yo, it had specific leaders, right? So when you cut the leaders out, what happens? The movement dies, right?
Yeah.
But with us, the information is the leader.
Well, it makes it easier now.
That changes the game, right? Because
More access.
Yeah.
you got game while you was, locked up that you can now apply. They can't stop you. You're now a leader. She heard some information on Monday night that she made 100,000 on. That changes her family's life. You might have heard something, right? All we did was provide the information, and once it's there, you can't stop it. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's like it's a different time right now. That's why I said this is the moment where it's like two brothers came together. We're leading by example, but we're highlighting others so that they can shine.
And it becomes normalized. Like you said, like we talk about the problems too much, but what's the solutions? But I think when you're exposed to things, your environment, it changes. Like I said, for me, I never had that issue. I told you, like my parents, like when they was young, they was in the Nation of Islam. So I was always taught just everything black. Like, you know what I'm saying? My whole life. So I never looked at that as anything that was unnormal. Even to this day, like I got my dentist is black, my doctor is black, my accountant is black. Not because I don't get along or work with white people, but why would I not want to go with somebody that's black?
Right.
I'm always gonna go for the brother man over the other man. It's not for any other reason other than he's black. He's a black person.
And it's crazy that they'll do it, and we look crazy by doing it.
Exactly. And every other group automatically does that. Like
We're the only ones who get shouted out for not doing
but we're the only ones that even have to explain
Explain
why we are doing
Right.
that.
It's hot for trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rappers. Got bars I can hang with the backpackers. Trap star, I don't hang with the backpackers. I'm in the hood with the work you heard. Making fiends leave earth you heard. Got your baby mama thirst you heard. Feel the flow, nigga, throw it in reverse. This the wave you need to surf you heard.